issues with the roof and the trees. And a lot of the trees had grown up through the swamp coolers and destroyed those. We had numerous problems with the roof. So what we did was we sent in some tree trimming guys to get the trees trimmed. We cleaned up a lot of the surrounding grounds. And then we spent about 3 weeks up on the roof trying to patch and keep that roof intact. The roof over the gym right now is too far gone to do anything, so that's what's, it's been leaking, it's warped the floors in there, and there's not much we can do about that. But I've been working since November with the post office on renewing their lease. And from November until just about a month ago, we finally did pound out a lease with them. And the big issue with the post office and all the buildings out there is that we were running under a oil burning system, and it was just costing about $10,000 every other month to keep that oil up. So what we've done is we're going to install heat pumps on the building to heat and cool the post office, and we've agreed to give them a 5-year lease with a 5-year option. And we are going to also paint the interior and the exterior of the post office. We then have been working with the library and the thrift shop, and with them we're going to, we've signed a 5-year lease, and the library has kind of taken the thrift shop under their wing there, and for $1 a month, they have 5 years with a 5-year option, and we're working to get the heat pump and the cooling on the library and the thrift store also. Let's see, since we went in there, we haven't done too much with the dormitories over there. We just, it's such a big project with the cleanup that it's been difficult to take on everything simultaneously. We're, other than the initial cost of purchasing the property, we spent close to $40,000 right now on the cleanup. We had to do a lot of repair work in the buildings, and that's about the size of it for right now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Larry, I went to go get my mail the other day and I saw a ditch out in the parking lot of the post office. What's that all about?
They're putting in new electric meters out there. With the Sierra's doing that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the reason why I kind of brought this up, Al, was because, you know, we're looking at surplusing some more property out there, and on the bid proposals, they're gonna be written proposals. And I'm just curious, on the written proposal, you know, there was talked about the Hal Hayes with 40 construction jobs on the military base. Is anything transpired on that?
He has been bidding on some of those. I don't know if he's been awarded any. I haven't talked to him about that particular subject. We've been, you know, just talking about what the plan is to try and get some more tenants out there. I've got signs up. We've talked to, tentatively, we've talked to U.S. Bank. We'd like to try and get a bank in that building where Sierra Central is. We are working on that presently. But as far as what Hal's got in contracts out there, we probably need to talk to him directly. He's hard to get hold of sometimes. He's very, very busy.
And also within your proposal, there was talk about the handicapped and wounded veterans program. I mean, has anything transpired on that?
We've talked to them, and we've also talked to some drug rehab places about going in there. But as of right this minute, we don't have any contracts. The repairs out there are going to be pretty extensive. Have you been out there and seen the dormitories?
Okay, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
No, it's not a pretty picture. It's we're talking in the millions on that one. That's going to be a big project.
Now, was that part of your project for the handicapped and wounded veterans?
That was just one of the ideas out there. I think that, you know, because of the dormitories and having the cafeteria there, it lends itself to a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily, wouldn't have to be that. It could be a program for juveniles that have gotten themselves in trouble. You know, we've talked about that. But again, money's always the key to this whole thing. We need money and lots of it.
Larry, I have a
Yeah.
question. Yeah. You touched on the post office and the thrift store and the So the library, you mentioned the 5-year lease for $1.
The 5-year option, it's $1, it's just.
The books and all that, I believe you guys.
We've donated all that, yeah.
Great. One of the items that we are all interested in, for obvious reasons, is the Family Resource Center, the One Stop.
Right.
What's the arrangement with there? Isn't that also
It's $1 a month.
for, okay, we have a lease that goes, how's the terms of that lease?
The terms are, at present, Richard and I can work that out, we're just month to month at this point.
Okay.
Month to month with a 60-day notification
Okay.
to terminate.
Yeah. Well, as a, member of the board and of the community, I mean, I certainly appreciate what you guys have
Well,
done.
we're trying, it's just a big project.
I mean, one thing that people need to remember is that those properties used to come at a cost of about $80,000–$90,000 every year to our general fund. And,
Well, there's a good reason for that, it's high maintenance.
Yeah. And
All
so-
these things. I think, one other thing, I've talked to Ken Bunch a little bit, but it appears that the assessment on that property is gonna come in between $500,000 and $600,000 on the property tax bill, which is a little baffling to me, Yeah, so, I'll be interested to see, what, I haven't seen the paperwork, I've just talked to Ken about it, so.
I think that ties in nicely with the public comment about the person that's ready to take their business and move out of California.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
just ridiculous.
We all talk about that, moving out of California, but, I've been all over, and it's, sometimes you think that the grass is always greener somewhere else, but actually, I've been all over the country. I still like it here, I'm not going anywhere. We're just gonna tough her out.
Good for you.
Larry, we sure appreciate your efforts down there. I see stuff going on down there. I wasn't aware to the extent. Thank you
Well, like
very
I
much
say,
for
we're
the rural
trying.
community, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks.
sir.
Yeah, see you later.
Okay, all righty, we'll take care of a couple of quick ones here. Let's go to H1, minutes of May 20th. And myself and Supervisor Chapman were absent that day, so we'll be abstaining. So we'll look at
I'll second that motion. Accept the minutes.
On unagendized reports for my report, on number 4, you replace constituent with Modoc County Supervisor Al.
Is the maker of the motion happy with that? Second?
That's perfect.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there'll be 2 abstentions. Okay, let's move down to item H2. This deals with the term limits. I had a question for county council.
Yes.
In reviewing the report, I see on Retta's document dated May 7th,
Yes.
down near the end there, it says on June 10th, and she outlines passing about the ordinance and so on. And then from there, it goes to direct the elections officer pursuant to government code. And then in reviewing your document dated June 2nd,
Yes.
it appears that she left out a step, being the resolution to be passed.
Well, certainly, calling the question, assuming passage of the ordinance today, and I don't want to assume anything, in order for the matter to be placed on the November ballot, a resolution must be approved by this board, calling the question, yes.
So that was,
That has to happen prior to about August 8th or 9th.
August, I believe it was 5 or 8, and Ms. Bustamante isn't here, but certainly we have ample time to be able to get that accomplished. And as I outlined in my June 2nd letter, I was intending to draft that resolution, and have it presented to you folks at this coming week's meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay, so Red is did kind of inadvertently leave that.
Well, she commented on the proposition that the elections officer needed to be directed pursuant to Government Code Section 25,000. 25,000 is the code section that deals with otherwise limiting the number of terms that supervisors may serve. Interestingly, there's a particular code section that deals with that very issue. She's not here, and I don't have the ability to ask her whether or not what she meant by direct the elections officer included the proposition that a resolution would be passed by you or not.
Okay.
And so I
That's how you-
don't know how to answer that question.
That's how you direct the elections officers.
By
through
resolution,
that
yes.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. I just wanted to clarify, there was a bit of difference there.
Understood, and I did review her work in detail. Wanted to make sure, because I understood that you wanted this on the November ballot, I understood that clearly. Wanted to make certain that we didn't miss a step, and so that's why you saw the language in my June 2 letter to you indicating that, well, essentially, these things don't get on the ballot by themselves. And so, like I said, I think you can foresee a resolution coming
Okay,
forward.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank
Very
you
good.
very much. I think I'd like to, unless the board members want to weigh in now, I'd like to go to the public and then we'll bring it back. So is there anyone here that would like to give public comment on this agenda item? All right. Okay, I know we've discussed this matter at the previous time it's been on the agenda. I think, all of the board members have pretty much weighed in, but there's, the thing is, I was trying to remember all the people that did come up. Obviously, we had another person at the podium here. But I'd say, well, first off, Richard, approximately how many registered voters do we have?
I believe it's in the neighborhood of 14,000.
14,000 registered voters.
Just shy, yeah.
My point being, we've heard from about 10, assuming they're all registered voters, we've heard from about 10 registered voters at the podium on this very important issue. I think the way to hear from the other, 13,990 is to have it on the ballot, and that's what I'm for. And so anyhow, that's where I stand on it. Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Otherwise, we look for a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I'd ask for a poll vote.
Excuse me? Oh, okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion on that, please?
Well, I was just gonna say, the speaker brought up, I've been following this thing the whole time. I don't agree with it in this case, but at the same time, maybe we should go to the voters and have them decide too, but I don't know, I think we're kind of going down the wrong track a lot of times. And look at this last voter turnout, you only have 40% of the people that's gonna show up to vote, probably on a good day like this last election. There's some very important issues and positions coming up, so, I don't know if it's necessarily the democratic way. It is, because you give everybody the opportunity, but not everybody takes it, and that's the true sad part. I hate to take somebody's options away, so, anyway, I'm still very torn on this issue. I think it still should be the voters' final. That's all I have to say.
Well, even 40% of them show up, it'd be nice to get the, hear from 5,600 of them, rather than just 10 voting. If there's no more discussion, the Madam Clerk, would you poll the vote?
Supervisor Chapman?
No.
Supervisor Alba?
Yes.
Supervisor Pyle?
All right.
Supervisor Hammond?
Aye.
Supervisor Wassett?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's take up our information and consent calendar, which I did that in before recess. Is there anything that, okay, we've already taken care of G4 and 5 with the agenda amendment. So is there anything on the consent calendar that anyone would like to be pulled for?
I'd like to have G11 pulled out for discussion vote.
It's G2 and G6.
Okay, we'll deal with the balance of the consent calendar. Is there anyone that would like to give any public comment on the balance of the consent calendar? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, first we'll take up G2.
On this, Richard, this is the
e-waste.
e-waste. I mean, do you just give it to them, or do we actually sell it, or, I mean, how does that work? Because we have Mr. Johnson come in here a while back, and he was, I don't know if he was planning on buying it, or if he would just take it as well, I don't know.
Currently, we do not receive any payment for it. They come and pick it up as they do at the landfill at no charge to us. Mr. Johnson has indicated that he thinks there's some value to it. He's actually told me that he's purchased some at various surplus auctions from schools and things. I don't know if that's the case or not. In order to, our analysis is that in order to dispose of this, it has to be to a certified waste recycler, e-waste recycler, because of the California rules. And so that's why we've been doing it in this manner. The person that's taking it is certified. It's in my opinion that the value of it's probably not worth a lot of formal bidding or any of that type of surplus operation, but we could go that route. And if we, maybe the best thing to do would be to try to analyze what the exact value of what we have would be, and then determine if we should put out a formal bid. But we have not done.
And what does it take to be a certified recycler?
It's a certification through the state of California, and I asked Julie to look into that a little bit.
There's two particular entities I think you must be in compliance with. And one is the California Recycling Authority. And then the second is the Department of Toxic Substances Control. There being some issue with the metals found in some of these devices. Those are the two entities that I'm aware of that must have authority to do this activity front.
Very good, that's all questions tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
This item was just to receive.
Receive.
Yeah, so we don't really need to get any further on this, Richard. I'll just get into this report.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to G6.
Yeah, Melody, I had a couple of questions on this. And this is a really huge budget item of yours, obviously.
Yes.
And I would just get about, how many people do you think you serve with this budget?
Gosh, no, right off the top of my head. I'll have to find out for you. This is the contract that funds our substance abuse services in the county. And we have not been serving as many people as we had in the past because they did some cuts to staff over the past few years when the economy tanked. But we're building those services back up again, and I'd say they're running pretty good now and bringing more people in all the time. But if you'd like that number, I can certainly bring it back for you.
I'd like that, I would listen to it.
Okay.
And then, so the trend is this substance abuse, has it been going up or going down? What's the trend?
Well, I think substance abuse is going up. Treatment is probably about what it has been, but I expect the trend for treatment to come up a little bit just because under the Affordable Care Act, it's a lot more available than it used to be. With everyone's insurance has to pay for a certain number of certain level of treatment for treatment abuse, for substance abuse now. Where in the past, unless you were a Medi-Cal recipient, and at that time adults between 18, or excuse me, 21 and 65 who didn't have kids weren't Medi-Cal eligible unless they were disabled. So there were a lot of people who just had no insurance and no way to access substance abuse treatment. And I think under the Affordable Care Act, it's going to make it more available to people, and I do expect to see our services go up.
And now, you work with Dean on this, is this part of the deal, where you go into jail and help out with that, or is this totally separate from?
Well, we provide some services in the jail, but they're kind of limited, and that's because research has shown that substance abuse treatment in jail is not all that effective because it's supposed to be a controlled environment. There are days when it's not, but for the most part, it's not like they have to make a decision to say yes or no to drugs or alcohol because it's just not available. So they don't really learn the skills they need to say no and manage their lives. So we will do some education for them. We have a lot of people, about 90% of the inmates that we work with that are in the jail have co-occurring disorders, which means they have mental health disorders in addition to substance use disorders. So we'll work with some of them on that, but what we really do is prep them for when they come out so that we can work with them then. And we have a variety of individual and group services that we enroll them in to help them get through treatment at that point. But yes, people, and the jail is a problem, but substance use treatment hasn't been shown to be very effective in jail. It's more effective when you capture them the minute they come out and work with them. Because at that point, they're kind of thinking about, gee, maybe I don't really want to go back to jail, maybe I should think about changing my life. I'll get those numbers for you. And would you like me to bring them back to the public, or would you like me just to share them with you?
They kind of need to show up public, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's a big dollar amount, and just kind of curious on what it costs to help cure some of these unfortunate circumstances.
Okay.
So what is the number one substance abuse problem? Alcohol?
Here in Lassen, I think it's meth. But we have a huge opioid and prescription opioid problem here too. And we're just starting to work with Partnership Health, and there's a large group over in Humboldt that has begun, it's a public education campaign about opioid use and abuse, and they're going to work with us, help us educate not only the community but also our local providers about how important it is to consider before you prescribe narcotic pain medications, and what are some of the alternatives for pain meds. So there's a lot of stuff on our plate that we're going to be working on over the coming year or two. So. But yeah, there's no doubt that drugs and alcohol are a problem in the county.
Thank you very much. Jean, did you have any?
Yeah, I do have a question. Is it okay? Is it
Sure.
appropriate for me to ask a question? Is this drugs coming from Mexico, or are these prescription from our local doctors, or where do they originate?
The opioids, prescription drugs, most of them are coming from local doctors. And, we probably have some people who are doctor shopping or pharmacy shopping, so they could go across to Nevada or up to, another county or wherever. As far as the illegal drugs, I don't know where they're coming from. That's more the sheriff's job than mine.
Well, I was just wondering if there were more from just local sources or from out of the area sources. That was my
On the
question.
illegal drugs,
Yes.
I really don't know, because I'm on the treatment side, and the task force is more involved in where the drugs are coming from that are here.
I would.
Yeah, most of our methamphetamine comes in from out of the area now. We used to do drug labs often in our county. Now it's been quite a few years since we've taken down an operational drug lab. But most of it's done, I call them like super cooks, or it's just like marijuana. Mexican nationals primarily. They'll bring them in there, give them all the supplies, put them to work for a week or so, and they just create mass quantities of methamphetamine. Most of ours, it comes in from a couple different routes. One is Reno, obviously, primarily to Susanville. The primary source to Westwood is out of Chico, and the primary source for the north part of our county is by way of Highway 299 from Reading. So we have it coming in all different directions into our county, but here in Susanville, most of it comes from Reno.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Yes?
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, Aaron, for bringing that up.
We got all these approved.
Motion to approve the amendment and authorize the CAO to sign. Do you have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, move on to G11.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, G11 is a proposed lease between the county and Environmental Alternatives for the 1415A Chestnut Street facility that's adjacent to the juvenile hall. The lease is proposed with the current tenant, Environmental Alternatives, who operates a group home there. The term of the lease would be July 1st through 2014 through June 30, 2015. The pertinent changes in the lease would be an increase in the rental rate to $2,500 a month, and maybe even more importantly, the sharing of utilities and costs of 25%. This building's not metered separately, it's metered with the juvenile hall, so that's the estimate of the utilization of the water, electricity, gas, sewer, et cetera. Any questions about that? Jennifer?
Mr. Chairman, I asked that this be pulled off the agenda because I have a philosophical problem with us having a contract with these folks in the first place. And I think for the board's benefit, particularly for our new members, to back up. Originally, this portion of the juvenile hall was the first portion that we built with $1 million grant the county had received. Had the money to build it and no money to operate it. And it's been a liability to the county ever since. And this is without any disrespect to our current people who are operating. It's inherent to the way the system is set up. So then they decided that the original juvenile hall wasn't adequate or built sufficient to meet the requirements. So then we went out and got a $2 million plus grant to build what is now the usable portion of the juvenile hall. So the question came down to is what do we do with this front section? And what they came up with staff-wise over the objection of some of us on the board, we spent $100,000 to renovate it so that it could be utilized as a group home. And they proceeded to rent it out at $100 a month to the group home, these operators that are there. Now keep in mind that these group homes are receiving into the neighborhood of thousands and thousands of dollars per ward that they're carrying out the group home. So as a matter of generating revenue, it's an extreme amount. So this sweetheart deal of $100 a month obviously functioned for a while. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was raised up to about $1,000 a month, and now we're proposing to take it up to $2,500 with 25% of the utilities being included for the first time. I don't think we've recouped in the years that we've had this arrangement the $100,000 renovation yet, let alone the $1 million that was invested. And it's been discussed, and it's my attitude and opinion that we should move away from this particular type of contract with these folks or whoever else and restore the use of that space as office space for the probation department to be located in that particular area. I think would be a better use of the public dollars than to subsidize the private industry that charges us tens of thousands of dollars if we want to place any of our wards in their care. So that's my objection and why I pulled it off the agenda and would like to be able to vote no on it.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll refer to Jennifer. So according to Jim, what would a ward cost us if we were to place it in this? What would it cost?
If we were to what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Jen Branning, acting chief probation officer.
Right. Like Jim just said, to have a ward and to place them in this environmental alternative, what would that cost a month?
Well, they get approximately, depending upon, the rate level that they're at, which if we use the 10, it's about $7,800 per month. And that comes out of the Title 40 foster care funding that's shared with Health and Human Services with Mel Brawley.
And if it's a 1? A rating of a 1?
If it's a rating of 1, I'd have to get that number for you because they typically don't have group homes that are that low. That's pretty much a foster family home, and we don't use a lot of those. So I don't know what the rate is. Do you?
Oh, for foster care.
For just a foster home.
It varies depending on whether it's a single foster home or whether it's through an agency.
Well, I'm talking about environmental alternatives, I mean, what would be a low range down here, what would be a high range?
A low range would be about 4,000 to 6,000, and a higher range would be the 7,000 to about 8,500.
How many kids do they have there?
At the Delphi,